Welcome to Other People's Shoes. This season, we're exploring what it means to be unmade. Life can sometimes feel like an unmade bed. Messy, chaotic, and overwhelming. But here's the beauty. Every unmade bed has the potential to be remade. In Season 20, we're sharing powerful stories of people who faced their life's chaos head-on and found the courage to rebuild, turning their messes into masterpieces. Just like starting your day with a simple act of making your bed, these stories remind us that small steps can lead to extraordinary transformations. So put on your shoes and take the first step toward remaking your own life. You're about to be inspired, challenged, and encouraged in ways you never expected. This is Other People's Shoes, Season 20. Unmade. And now, here's your host, Neil Matthews.
Yes. Welcome in, one and all. Come on in. There's room for everyone. I feel like Jessica Lewis needs to, that's the voice that we're using, by the way. She's not AI. I keep getting messages from people. I promise you. She's a real person. But I feel like Jessica needs to narrate my life. Come alongside me and Neil is making omelets today. It's so amazing. Look at how he scrambles those eggs. That seems a little over the top. But it got me thinking about things in life that break us, shake us up, bring along some mess. You know, nobody told me 18 years ago that becoming a parent would bring mess. I thought I had the market cornered on the messiness. I thought I had the market captivated, intrigued by the messiness. I'm sort of a messy, cluttery person. Then that baby came along for me. I remember it exactly. It was draft night. Kevin Durant, for those basketball fans, got drafted by the Seattle Supersonics, 2007, June 28th. And that's when my life changed forever. That's a date I'll remember forever. That is the date my daughter joined our life. Right. With that, it's a whole lot of messiness and a whole lot of brokenness and a whole lot of joy. There is joy there. For some, when you talk about being a parent and you talk about kids, there isn't always joy. Maybe we could still find some. Help me welcome in my new friend, June. June, how are you today? It's kind of ironic we're talking about the month of June, sitting with somebody named June. I don't think that's happened ever. So welcome in, June. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. I got to be honest. It's so weird because when I think of June, I do think of my daughter. I think of my mom. My mom has a birthday, June 9th. My brother-in-law, who I love so much because he built the Shoe Shack studios that I sit in every week. I love him for that reason. I love him for other reasons. That's a big reason why I love him. When I do think of the name June, I do think of those things. It's fun that we to sit with somebody named June. I know who could have used so much with just your name.
So June is like my family name. Coincidentally, I'm born in June. My brother's born in June. My dad's born in June. My parents' anniversary was in June, so I think it was more than just the family name. It is our family name.
So there's like grandparents and great-grandparents, aunts and so-ons with the name June.
Yes, yeah. I was going to be a June if I was born in like April. I still would have been a June.
Do you like the name June?
Now it doesn't bother me as much. When I was growing up, everybody was, June's such an old person's name. Now it doesn't matter because now everybody thinks I'm old. We get older. Once you pass 30, it's just like you're old now. It doesn't bother me anymore. And when I was younger, it was like an old person's name.
That's what I got told once too. Neil is an old-fashioned name. And I thought, Is it really? Is Neil that old-fashioned? I don't know too many Neils. I've met some Neils on our podcast journey. I have a good friend named Neil Getzlow. He's out in Kansas, and he is also a Neil, and it's spelled the same way. I don't meet very many Neils, and to be candid, I don't think I've ever met a June.
Oh, good. It'll be memorable then.
Right?
You will always remember this podcast.
I will
remember it now.
I do. I love that we have a June now. I do think very often, like when I'm booking people, sometimes I'll be like, oh, we've had an Amanda before. Maybe we need to look for someone. Is that bad? Like she could have the greatest story ever. And I'm like, we've had our quota on Amanda. Sorry, Amanda. You get to miss out on the show.
Yeah. I'll put you on the backlog just in case.
You're on the wait list, Amanda. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Now every Amanda ever has stopped listening at this point. All right. Well, June, help us with this as we get going and rolling. I love to know this, and that's this. What style of shoe might we find you in that Georgia, sort of Florida line area? What might we find you wearing most days?
Usually sandals. If it's cold outside, which Georgia weather where I live, it's totally the 40 in the morning time, and then in the afternoon it's 80. Maybe socks with sandals. I know that's so tacky. Yeah, and I can see it. It's so tacky. It gets cold outside. Sandals, definitely sandals.
I grimace. I have Crocs and I wear them with socks. Because I think it's fun to wear Crocs with socks. Has a rhyme feeling to it. It's sad. And I don't wear sandals, and maybe that's why I'm not a sandal guy. Never been a sandal guy. I try to put myself into people's sandals, though, every week. Because undoubtedly somebody will come on. It's almost like people have listened to past episodes and they're like, I'm going to get Neil. I'm going to make him wear sandals because he feels uncomfortable in sandals.
If I had a choice, it'd be sandals. Now it's been raining here, too. That's another thing. So we have mud boots, too, because we live in the country. And that's all there is mud.
I don't like being muddy or dirty or gross or messy. I don't like my clothes feeling like I'm dirty. It's just gross. You came to us through this amazing platform that I've been using quite often called Podmatch. You're familiar with Podmatch, obviously, because you're on there, and as we are as well. What about the topic, what about the idea of this unmade thing resonated with you that made you say, you know what, I got a story here. Let me reach out and see what happens.
When I read the title of your podcast, I was like, other people's shoes. And then I started reading what you had wrote down. Obviously, with my story, I tell it a lot. One thing with me when I was going through it is I always thought I was alone. Being able to sit and talk to somebody and hear someone else's perspective, I love that aspect of it. Most of the time, you live in this bubble and there's only like one thing that you think, and you never look at someone else's point of view. By looking at it, it gives you a better understanding. I think you learn more when you do that. I think that's what drew me to it first. And I was like, wow, let me sit here and message Neil and see what's going on with Neil.
Well, we appreciate that. Somewhere along the way in the journey, I think I got pitched by this Lance Armstrong rubber band kind of company. And they gave me this really smoking deal. If I bought, X number of bracelets, I got this number of bracelets free. It seems like 2,000 bracelets. And I was all excited because I had this event that was going to come up and we were going to give the bracelets out and we were going to give stickers out because, people like that kind of stuff. I looked down one day and I thought, you know what? I'm going to wear the bracelets. I'm going to wear them every day. And undoubtedly somebody will ask me about my bracelet or what it is or what it says. And one of them says, they actually both say the same thing. They're just different colors. One of them on my right says a different perspective on life. And the first part says, of course, other people's shoes. I wonder though about your life and your sandals that we're talking about. I wonder how many people would really honestly raise their hand in a room, let's say of 75 people. That seems like a good number. Not too many, not that little. I wonder how many of those 75 would raise their hand and say, nope, you know what, Neil? I'm thinking I really want to get into June's shoes and walk where she's walked and experience what she's experienced. I really feel like my life is not complete until that happens. What would be your response if somebody, maybe again in this 75 people room, maybe it's a ballroom, nicely decorated, a lot of light blue in the color scheme, by the way, we have to, it's kind of a requirement. Somebody really sat down next to you at this ballroom and this event and said, June, no, I want to get into your shoes. I want to really know that different perspective. Would you want them to be in your shoes, or would you say, come on in, jump on in? Or would you be like, no, you really don't want these shoes?
And obviously, I wouldn't want anybody to go through being my shoes. For anybody that would want to jump into it, I really think I'm a different person, and I would have been a different person than I am today. Not saying that I would want to go through my shoes again. I think that I'm a stronger person, and I think that I'm a better person just in general. For what I tell them to do it, I'd be like, I don't know. It's not for the weak. You have to be strong and you have to be willing. And so technically I would tell them no, if they really wanted to, hey, you're not alone. Let's go.
Well, the reality is we've been doing this 6 years now. I've had somewhat similar conversations, I would say, around what we're talking about. And let's just let the cat out of the bag, because I know you like cats.
Yeah.
I don't know why we put cats in bags, by the way. That's a weird expression. You lost your son.
Yeah.
Again, that's a conversation that most people probably wouldn't know, again, bumping into you at the airport on your way to somewhere other than Georgia. Somebody bumping into you at the grocery store, at Starbucks, or isn't going to just know right away June's lost a child.
No, they never do. The only way that someone really would know, because I don't really bring it up, I wouldn't bring it up to, like, say, a stranger or you. They ask, do you have kids? And that question is where people get uncomfortable when you talk about that.
Why is it that you think people get uncomfortable talking about that?
They don't know what to say. Well, there was 2 different ways that people that I knew, friends, family, went when I lost my son. And one was I never heard from them. And their idea was, I don't know what to say, so I'm going to stay away. There was people that came and did and were there the whole time. And then there was a third number of group that they had kids around my child's age or a little bit older, and they couldn't fathom what was going on. I never talked to them. A few of them I still haven't talked to this day because they couldn't deal with the grief, I guess you could say. They were grieving for me. They were thinking of it like it was their child. It's a hard subject to talk about. Kids aren't supposed to die. That's not the cycle. Born, you're a toddler, you're a teenage, and it goes around, and you don't die until you're old. That's totally out of whack. They don't know what to say, and they don't know how to handle it.
What happened to your son that led to his eventual death?
It started when I got pregnant with him. I started having the complicated pregnancy. I had the preeclampsia and everything like that. I was having to do the stress tests every week, and they were trying to get him to 35 weeks. So I went in that week for the stress test that day, and they said, okay, you're fine, go home. Well, I went home, and that night when I woke up in the middle of the night, I had a complete placental abruption. I lived, he lived, but there was a lot of complications with that. He was special needs. He had cerebral palsy. He had microcephaly, which basically is because of all the brain damage, was getting no oxygen. His brain was smaller. He had a seizure disorder. He had cortical blindness. He had a whole bunch of stuff. So he was definitely a special needs child. They told us when he was born, if he lived 24 hours, he would live a while. Eventually, one night, he would go to sleep and he wouldn't wake up. For me, I guess in my mind, and they did not give us a time frame. He did obviously live 24 hours. They didn't give us a time frame, but 10 was in my mind. I was like, okay, well, he'll be around for 10 years. He was 2 years old, 3 months, and 24, 25 days. We had to take shifts because he had a feeding tube too. Called it shift work between me and my husband at the time. He went downstairs to fill up his feeding tube, and when he did, Kaleb wasn't breathing. Obviously, I came running downstairs. The only thing I could say to him was, like, are you joking? My mind could not catch up with him saying that our 2-year-old wasn't breathing. I don't know. I guess I was sleepy too. It just wouldn't click. Dialed 911 and threw the phone down because where we live at, if you dial 911, cops are coming no matter if you answer or not or hang up. I grabbed him off the bed and I put him on the floor and I started CPR. I did CPR on him until the paramedics came. I worked in law enforcement. I knew all these people out here at my house, and obviously they knew where I lived. There was a ton of people here. We were getting ready to go to the hospital, and one of the officers said, hey, June, you guys can't leave yet. You got to wait for Alicia. And I looked at him and he looked at me, and I knew what that is. So Alicia was a detective. Whenever a child dies down where I live, a detective has to come out to make sure that everything is okay, that you didn't hurt your child. I knew that Kaleb was dead at that time. My husband at the time, who was not in law enforcement, did not know. My parents didn't know because they had come down. They ended up letting us leave. I just signed over the house basically to them, wrote a note, hey, you can stay in my house, and handed it to them, and we left, and they just locked up after I left, and I got my keys later from them. We got to the hospital, and obviously he had passed away. With kids, they have to do an autopsy. Kid dies, you have to do an autopsy here. When they did the autopsy, they couldn't figure out what stopped. Basically, it was just the cause of all the trauma that he had when he was born. He was gone. He was gone at 2. That's how it happened.
Well, first off, thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate that. Walking us back through it. I talked about dates in the beginning, kind of in my little intro monologue. I remember June 28th for me. I bet you there's some dates you remember as well with Kaleb. Is there any specific dates that stand out for you?
The night that he was born was November 26, 2009. And that was actually Thanksgiving that day. That sticks out to me because we were so thankful that we both lived. And then March 20th, that's the day that he passed away. That was actually that year that he passed away in 2012 was the first day of spring. Those dates They just always hit me. So thankful that he lived and it was Thanksgiving. And then if he had to go, at least it was spring, which spring everybody thinks of nice and it's getting warmer and good times, flowers and good things. Those 2 dates they just stick out with me. They've gotten easier since I've gotten older. It's not so much the dates anymore. I don't think you ever heal from it. You learn how to deal with it. It's not the dates anymore for me. Like I could be going down the road and everything's fine and I get upset because of something that I remember. Those dates are always going to be burned in my mind.
You mentioned to me in the green room / blue room, because it's really a blue room. We don't have a green room. It's blue. Our room is blue. But you had mentioned that there is another child.
Yeah.
There's a very near and dear lady to me. We sat with her many years ago now, and she talks about how she lost her daughter Grace to suicide. The suicide way different than what you experienced and what your ex-husband walked. Way different. Susan has another daughter as well. And I remember at an event that they've now turned into Grace's memory. They call it Run for Grace. It's a running event that they do here in our community. And I think it's kind of a cool name, Run with Grace. I like to have more grace in my life. I like to hopefully give more grace to people. I want to give into me, so I give it back out. But I remember one time seeing Susan's other daughter, and everything in me wanted to ask her, but I didn't. I wasn't sure if I was being gracious in that moment. Is it hard growing up in the shadow and the memory of your sister's loss? And I don't know if anyone's ever asked her that question. And so I know you can't answer for your other child per se.
I can't right now. I can say one thing that I was blessed with is I had a son with special needs and I have a daughter society would call a normal child. She can do everything. She's smart. She's just your normal average child. But one thing that I worry about with Bella, which is my daughter, is I always worry that I don't want her to feel inferior to Kaleb. I worried about that forever. She's 10 now. I worried about her growing up because people talk about Kaleb like that knew him. They'll still talk about him and I feel kind of weird and uncomfortable about it sometimes. I think she has an understanding now that she's older. She is her own person and I love her. I dedicated my book to her. And one of the things that I say in there is she'll never know how much that she saved me in my life. I had to go through all of that trauma, having a special needs child like we did, my traumatic birth and going through that and then going through his loss. I wasn't going to have any more kids. My daughter does know this. I'm like, you were the oops child because of everything I went through. She knows that she saved me. And she got me through some really, really dark times that she'll never even understand. And I hope she doesn't. That's a real thing. I worry about that. Something that I carry with me and I make sure to tell her every day. I'm like, hey, I love you. You're special. You're my baby. And she likes it now, but I'm sure at 13, she's going to hate it. Right now, she still likes mom. It's scary because I don't want her to feel inferior to him. She's not at all. She's her own person.
Well, I'll tell you, even at 17 and 18, they suck it up now, bring it all in now of her wanting to hear that and receive that, because it's a rare kid that wants to hear when they're later in their teens. I don't know why. Why. That's the miracle and the mystery of life, I feel like. The other flip side of that story with Susan, she told me, statistically speaking, when people lose a child, whether it be in suicide or whether it be a health issue or a special needs kid passes away, that can put a tremendous strain on marriages. I've been blessed to be married almost 24 years to a girl I met in high school in around 1997. Very fortunate as far as that goes. And we've had our share of hard times and nothing's ever been a Hallmark movie or a Disney movie. They've yet to call us, so apparently our marriage doesn't measure up to those standards of Hallmark or Disney. I will say this, that it can be tough. Marriage is one of the hardest things next to parenting, I think, that is in our society that we have to kind of navigate and walk through. Do you think the passing of Kaleb had any impact or any splash, if you will, effect on that?
Oh, yeah. I think of it two different parts of it, trying to live our life as our first-time parents of a special needs child. And that in itself is really hard. My ex, we had different views. Like, let's push him as far as we can push him to see what he can do. And my ex was, the doctor says he can do this, let's not hurt him. And neither way is wrong. It's just the way we both felt. We had different views on it. So there was a strain there, and you're tired, and you're learning how to be first-time parents, and then you're learning using a feeding tube and how to do CPR in case they just stop breathing and how to put the feeding tube back in if it falls out. What if he has seizures? You're learning all this stuff. So there was a lot of strain there. And then we got to a point where it was kind of neutral, kind of getting used to this now. We're regulating, and then boom, he passed away. And then when we started grieving, I was the historic introvert that I don't want anybody around me. I want to go to my room and I don't want to see anybody. And he was the person that needed the people there. He needed the support. Not that either way is wrong. It's just two different ways of healing. And that's kind of what pushed it over the edge. To this day, I think he was an awesome father. We still talk. He moved back to Wisconsin. Cheese curd guy. He lives in Wisconsin, got out of the military and is doing occupational therapy because of Kaleb. And we still talk. The last time we talked, I think when Kaleb would have been 13. It was like, wow, I can't believe, we talked through social media or what. We grew apart. We couldn't fix it. And I don't think at that time, and I will blame that on me too, I don't think at that time I was willing to either. I just wanted everything to go away. Anything to deal with Kaleb, except my parents, I wanted to go away. That was my way I was going to heal, that everybody says you heal from, was just to push it away and be like, I'm not dealing with this. And I threw myself into work, of course. But I've seen with the women that I talk to, and I work with people at work, and they've lost children. Their marriages are extremely strong. Their marriages were strong going into it too.
It's just one of those hard things in life. We think we're good. We think we can stand. We think we can handle the hurricane and the storm and the tornado and the messiness, to kind of get into our season.
Yeah.
We think we can handle it. And then when it happens, we're like, yeah, I don't know if I can. You mentioned your daughter. Now, I know, just doing the math, maybe perhaps she wasn't around in those days to see Kaleb. So she has no memory or no concept of who he is other than what others have shared.
She does not know except what I shared. When she was around 3, I think they start talking at 3, don't they? Yeah, they're talking at 3.
It feels like it. I mean, I was late talking, so I don't know. But 3 sounds right.
Yeah. She started asking, because I did have pictures up and I still have some pictures up. It's not a lot, but I have pictures up. And she started asking for like siblings. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not happening with me. Go ask your dad. Little by little, I would tell her about it. And obviously, I'm not the perfect mom. She's like, what happened? When she got a little bit older, like 4 or 5, what happened? And I was like, oh, he fell asleep and never woke up. So then we wouldn't go to sleep at night because she thought that she was going to do that. And then I had to explain to her, Kaleb was kind of like a superhero. And he had to fight his whole life, made up like a whole big long thing, started sleeping again. She knows bits and pieces. She doesn't know all the trauma, and she won't until she gets older. She'll find stuff sometimes. Not that I have stuff lying around that was his or anything. When she was younger, there was stuff still in the house, and, she would ask me about it. If she sees a picture, she'll ask about it. She only knows from my stories. She was born in 2014, and Kaleb died in 2012.
So what do you hope your daughter sees in you about how you handle adversity? What do you think a lesson she could pull from you that would maybe propel her for the rest of her life as far as what she sees with you in adversity?
Number one, I want her to be independent. Independent, do your own thing, be on your own. Not saying never to get married or anything like that. I don't want her to get married until she's about 40. I want her to definitely be independent. My thing that I try to push on her is strength. Stronger than you think. You're smarter than you think. I think that's the biggest thing, that if she takes away that and knowing that, hey, no matter how bad it gets, I can get through it because mommy did it. Mommy did it with a lot of different things in life, and she knows about it. The only thing I really haven't told her about is exactly how Kaleb died yet, of just the trauma. And I haven't told her about his birth yet either. The other things that have happened, she knows about. That's the big thing, is like, I want her to know that no matter how hard it gets, you can push through it. And if she has that, she can do anything. And I believe anybody, if you have that want, then you can do anything.
She's probably seeing some things in mom that she will one day mirror, appreciate about you.
Yeah.
Writing books. That's a passion of yours. Why write a book? Again, I would imagine there's a lot of books out there on grief, on losing a child. I've interviewed some folks that have maybe not exactly been where you have been at and felt what you have been at, but have walked this journey. Why add your voice to perhaps the thousands, if not 10,000s of voices? Why was that important to you?
There's so many different reasons to that. Number one is, when I was going through my grief, like the biggest thing with me and my grief, I'm an introvert. Somebody telling me, go to therapy, go to group counseling, go do all this stuff, it just was not going to work for me. So I had to figure out a different way. My way at first was let's push it in the closet and not talk about it. When I started learning about the mind and started doing like taking cognitive behavior therapy, neuro-linguistic, that's when I started to learn. I figured I had something to give for that person that didn't want to go sit and talk to people, that didn't want to do what everybody says in society is the norm. I wanted to write it for people that are like, there's no way I'm going to heal from my child dying. How can somebody tell me I'm going to heal? I wanted them to get my perspective on it. And hopefully that maybe that one person that thought, and I wrote it very raw. It is very raw, exactly what I was thinking. And I wanted to write it like that because I didn't want to sugarcoat it. I didn't want somebody feeling that the way they were thinking was wrong. Well, one thing that I talk about in the book, I talk about when I hated God, and I talk about that in there and why me. And I wanted it to write it like that. So people would say, okay, well, maybe I'm okay for feeling the way I feel. That was a big thing. I can only touch so many people through my social media, my little 5,000-6,000 people town that I live in. With a book and the social media, I could push it out to people all over. When I first started to write the book, I was like, man, if I could sell one book a month, that's one book. That's one mother I'm helping. It turned into a lot more. It was a way to push out. The last reason what I did is it helped me heal again. It helped me heal more doing that, writing it all over again. And going through it and going back to the time of when I felt the way I did. It also helped me in my healing process, remembering where I was at a specific point. That's hard. Going back to how dark you were. I call them demons. Was in that really dark place. It helped me to be like, man, I'll never have to be there again. I wanted other women to know, hey, this is how dark I got. Hey, I was there, and I'm going to admit this to you. I'm going to spill my beans for you guys. It's helped women because they're like, okay, it's not sugarcoated. This is okay. I can understand now.
Well, a couple of things jump out at me of what you just said. When I was a kid, maybe this was you too. Man, I was the youngest of 4. I remember this moment. We were standing in line, this lady, Denise's house. And she had this tin, like almost like an Altoids tin. There was gum in it. We were all told we could have one piece of gum. So it goes down the line, kind of like a collection plate at church. Most people know that. And everyone took their piece. So we thought. And then it passed back up to the front where she was at. And she noticed that somebody had taken 2 pieces of gum. What proceeded after that was a series of Tabasco sauce in our mouth to make us confess of who took 1 piece of gum, by the way. We're freaking out over 1 piece of gum. But it wasn't the point. Then it went to vanilla extract, just this series of things. And then finally, I mean, it must have been hours. Finally, my brother, who's 2 years older than I am, confessed to taking the 2nd piece of gum. And I was really mad at him. I was so mad. I was like blaming him, like, we have to do all this stupid stuff and it's all because of you. The idea of blaming someone. Did you find yourself maybe like me as a child and maybe even like me as an adult now, blaming anyone? Or was that just you had like a force field around you? You didn't ever have to worry about blaming anyone. Maybe you blamed yourself. I don't know. Was blame ever part of your story?
Yeah. I placed blame on God. How could you allow me and my child to survive the traumatic birth that we survived when we shouldn't have? I mean, I lost 3.5 pints of blood alone. Why did you allow us to do that? Then we're not going to be together. You're going to kill him off 2 years later. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I had a lot of blame there. I blame myself. I should have known he wasn't feeling good, even though he was fine that day. I should have known. I should have been the one that got up. I should have woke up when we stopped breathing. I played the victim a lot. The 2 main ones, blame myself. I blame myself a lot. What mom's not going to blame themselves? We do have kind of psychic abilities with our kids. We think we should have known. I think I should have known that something was wrong with him. It goes for mothers that have lost children to suicide or to drug overdose. They think they should have known, and sometimes we just don't know. Easiest person to blame is ourselves as women, and we do it a lot. And I think everybody does it, and I think women do it a lot. The easiest thing to say is it was my fault.
You mentioned God. Kind of excited that you mentioned God. I was an Awana kid. I walked the aisle, accepted Jesus. I got baptized around 10 years old, grown up in the church, been a youth pastor, been on staff at a church, volunteered for youth group activities, really since I was 19 years old. Been around the church a few times. And I remember even in Awanas, in those early years of learning about Jesus and who he was, all the things that he did and his great stories that people tell about Jesus, we learned this really catchy song. It goes like, Jesus loves me, this I know. As a child, it's easy, it's catchy, it's fun to sing, perhaps. Now, as an adult, that song kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Because if he loves me, why did he allow that to happen?
Yeah.
If he loves me so much, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave.
His only son.
Why is it he can give, but he can also take away? That doesn't seem fair. And I hate the phrase, it's not fair. Come on, God, it's not fair.
I had a hard time for a long time because I also had like other demons. I didn't like the person I was. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have been that way. So I was fighting those demons along with my grief. I came to the point where I didn't want to live like that anymore. I was only 31 when Kaleb passed. If I'm changing everything, I need to release the anger, the guilt, and everything. How I finally did that, it is what it is. I can't be mad at him. He knows what it feels like to lose a child because he gave his son. That's the way I looked at it. I finally said, I'm going to find peace with this and not hold on to that anger. I played the victim for a long time. Sad, you lost a child. That doesn't mean I have to play the victim. Yes, I did. To keep my son alive, I have to honor him and stop playing that victim mentality, do something about it. So a lot of people are fearful that people are going to forget about their child. If I'm so scared that someone's going to forget about my child, they're not going to know him 5 years from now, I need to do something about it. I need to stop playing the victim, put my big boy pants on and do it. There's moms that don't feel like that. They don't think they can do that. They can. They don't think that they can do that. I would be crushed even more if he's forgotten. I need to stop that victim mentality that poor me. The world should be poor me, poor June because she lost her son.
Forgiving yourself. How was that?
I think for me, I had to realize it wasn't in my control. And I'm a control freak. I'm in law enforcement. I'm a control freak. It was something I couldn't control. No matter how much I wanted everything, and I still do to this day, I've gotten better. I will say I've gotten better. It was out of my control. There was nothing I could do. There was nothing I could have done that day to save him. I tried. I did CPR on my 2-year-old son. I had to realize that there was nothing that I could have done. There's nothing that could have changed. That day was great. He had a really good day. In the life of a special needs kid, some days are not good at all. And his day was really good and he was very happy. I had to keep telling myself that because you just don't go, okay, I'm not going to think about this bad stuff about me anymore. I kept telling myself that. I call them signs. I saw different things. Just going back over it through my head. And I can tell you this, the day that we got back from the hospital when they told us Kaleb had passed, I was sitting on my front porch and there was a deer that just walked out and just sat there and looked at me and left. And then I had a dream about Kaleb. In my dream, he was running to me and he threw his arms around me and he looked up and he smiled. He couldn't run. He had cerebral palsy, so he was in a wheelchair. He had cortical blindness. He wasn't wearing his glasses. He couldn't smile. Things like that comforted me saying, okay, he is okay. I have to stop. I was driving myself crazy. There is nobody that can take care of my child like I can take care of my child. Not even God. Oh my God, is he getting everything he needs? Is he getting his food? Does he have his glasses? And I was driving myself crazy. I really was driving myself crazy. I had to stop. And fortunately, I could. There's some parents that they can't. They haven't done it yet.
I have some very good friends that have a special needs son, and his name is Joel. I've had Joel in middle school for, it feels like forever. Because Joel's, even though he's a senior in high school this year, he mentally, emotionally, probably, he's really a middle schooler.
Yeah.
He probably could beat you in Super Smash Bros. That's all he wants to talk about with me anytime he's in middle school with me. And I don't know that video game. And every now and then he'll ask me about Pokemon. And I'm like, Joel, I don't know Pokemon. I know Squirtle. That's about it. And Pikachu. That's all I got, Joel. I got 2 Pokemons. I don't know them. And he always wants me to come over and play video games with him. And I'm like, Joel, I love you, buddy, but I don't have the bandwidth for that. And he doesn't understand that, of course. And I feel terrible about it. We did this series called Perseverance, and we sat with Joel's parents, Jason and Trina. And they're very good friends of mine. I've known them a very long time. And I asked Trina this question, and it made me think of you in this moment. I'm building to this. That I asked Trina, I said, was abortion on the table? Because they, at that time, knew some of the challenges they were going to have with Joel. They didn't know all of them, some of them. And she kept telling the doctors and the nurses, and she said, even if he takes my life, I will not abort my child. It's my child. Now, again, faith comes into play there.
Yeah.
Was that even on the table for you guys? Was that even on the radar?
No, Caleb was healthy. He was small, but I'm only like 5 foot. Him being a small baby, it wasn't going to surprise me. No, he was healthy up until I had the complete placental abruption. He was a little bit smaller, wasn't anything out of an alarm. So it wasn't there. It wasn't on the table. And I always tell people, and I, it's like you're having a healthy child. People that are having children that have had healthy children, they're not going to understand this, but you have a child, you're going to have a boy, and you have all these expectations. They're going to be a football player, and they're going to play. Well, for me, it was play soccer, and he's going to be gorgeous, and he's going to have dark skin, and all this stuff. And it was all these dreams and expectations. Well, that night that he was born, that died. So my normal child, what society would call normal, he died. So I had to deal with the trauma of, okay, we were going this direction. Now we're going this direction. You have different goals and child's going to do this and this and this. It's just a different direction than what a normal child, what society would call a normal child would go. But yeah, it wasn't on the table. It was a shock. I was just in the doctor's office. My doctor's appointment was like after work, say about 5 or 6. I started having I got up at 10:30 at night. I was bleeding everywhere. He wasn't born till 1. Make that make sense? I have no idea because I had a complete placental abruption. I don't ask. I think it's him upstairs. I don't know. It went on the table for us.
And I know those have had abortions and they have their reasons but I always think if there's life there, how can you deny life?
Yeah.
You mentioned being in a very dark place. You mentioned all you wanted to do was really close up, hide in the room, hide from others. You're a very introverted person. You don't sound introverted, by the way, so maybe that's some growth on your part. I would just affirm you in that regard. If you could go back in time, go upstairs to the bedroom that you were hiding out in, make your way up those stairs, down the hallway, into the room. Maybe you don't even knock. Maybe you just quietly open the door and kind of sneak in. And you see yourself. I know it's weird to go in this like maybe mindset or this train of thought. See yourself laying in the bed, curled up in a ball, maybe blankets around you, hiding. Maybe you're sobbing. Maybe you're worshiping somehow, some way. Maybe you're angry. Maybe you're yelling. The past self is doing all these things, and the new self, the new you, is there. What would you say to yourself in that moment?
I would tell myself to feel. Remember, law enforcement, I thought that I had to be stoic, and I thought that I couldn't show my emotions. Even with my family and my husband at the time, I tried not to show my emotions. I would tell myself to feel everything. Don't rush. I think I went back to work 2 or 3 weeks after Caleb passed because I didn't want to deal with it. Just take your time. You're going to get through it. I think that's the big thing. You're not alone. Because I thought I was alone too. Okay, I'm the first person to ever lose a child. In my mind, I'm like, no one will understand me. Not alone. You're going to get through it. And just take your time and feel it. I thought I had to be this stoic person. I was in law enforcement. I couldn't show any emotion in front of the guys that were at my house. When I called 911 to the people at the hospital, because I knew the people at the hospital, just feel it. Nobody wants to feel emotion. Now I don't care. It's been 13 years. Now it's just like, well, if I cry, I cry. To feel it, because I thought I couldn't feel. I thought that was a no-no.
Has law enforcement taught you that you kind of have to put your feelings in a box? I mean, that seems very military, by the way. Maybe that's part of your background as well. Think of act of valor, sort of great line, also a horrible line at the end of the movie, Wrecking It. They say, put your feelings in a box, bury them down deep. Don't experience them. I'm like, no, that's not good advice. That's terrible advice. Especially when it involves grief. The hard part for me in these moments, especially when we're talking about such heavy subject, is I'm a visionary person. I like imagination. If you couldn't already tell, I like to kind of weave my question with the story. But I love the book, The Shack. It's one of my favorite books outside of the Bible. I really love it a lot. I really one day want to meet the author and thank him because I read the book. I think I've read it probably a dozen times now. When I say read, I've listened to it probably about a dozen times. That is a little bit why, by the way, I named the studio I'm in the Shoe Shack. Talk about other people's shoes. When I think of The Shack, I think of the transformation that takes place in that book. So if you haven't read the book, for those who haven't, I'm going to just give a shout out. Go read the book, The Shack. You can listen to it. It's on Audible. I'm not getting paid to say that. I just love the book. But in that, it got me thinking to the show and podcasting. The character Mackenzie, he's the main character in the shack. He has this amazing weekend really with God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit. And I thought, man, how cool would that be if someone could have a weekend with a loved one? Maybe that's passed, or maybe it's a loved one that they've not been able to connect with. Maybe it's a dad who's been estranged, or a mom who was terrible to them as a child, and they got a weekend with them. So I'm going to phrase this to you. I give you a weekend with Kaleb, and you can pick what age he's in. It doesn't matter to me. What would you do and what would you say to him if we gave you a weekend with him? Now that's Friday, just to help you. Friday nights to Sunday night. That's how I view the weekend.
God, that is so hard because he was so young. I would want to sit with him and, are you watching your sister? Is your sister doing anything bad? Tell me all the stuff on your sister. Talk to him about Bella. And I would like to find out how much he is around. I would like to find out if he's walked with Bella and everything, find out how his life was. It bothered me for a long time when we had his autopsy. They couldn't tell us what stopped. I'm a control person. What stopped? I want to know what stopped. Was it his brain? Was it his heart? Was it his lungs? What stopped? And I couldn't find that out. I want to know that. And then I would just talk to him. He wasn't older where I could talk to him about being his mom more, or did I do okay in life? He wasn't that age. Just talk to him. I think the biggest thing I would want to ask him would be how he died. It doesn't bother me like it did before. It's just something that I would like to know. If there was anything I could do differently now that he has better vision than I do. I'd probably ask him about my mom has passed away. She's up there. My grandpa's up there now. I talk to him about that. I don't know. Other than that, I guess we would figure out what to talk about. He would need to be a little bit older so I could talk to him. What went wrong in the pregnancy? Because it was so messed up that night. The day he was born was Thanksgiving. So the night that I went when was Thanksgiving Eve. It was on Thanksgiving time thinking about what do we cook for the next day. Got to get off this shift at night. And then we're getting off this day shift and we're going to start making the stuff for Thanksgiving tomorrow because we're off during the day, but we have to come in at night. And where did it all go wrong? He would know. No, I don't think it would be anything big. I would be okay just sitting, me, him, and Bella just sitting there, or Kaleb and I sitting there and watching Bella. Big into gaming and YouTube videos and all that stuff.
I think forgiving yourself might have been hard, perhaps. I feel like maybe we can use the friend card now. Don't often call people guests. I think that's silly. Because once they sit with me, I consider them my friend.
Right.
I've always from the beginning said, help me welcome in my new friend. Because I do feel like so many times on this journey, people become friends. They don't become guests. Guests seem impersonal almost. But if I'm going to be your friend in this moment, I would venture to guess forgiving yourself was 1, and then 1A may have been giving up control. For you, how have you been able to relinquish the control of I didn't do enough, blaming yourself, blaming God, beating yourself up, woe is me, victim mentality? How have you gotten over control freak, maybe? That's lovingly said.
It's okay. So there was a point in my journey when I was sitting on the couch and I had a little miniature dachshund at the time. I don't want to live the next 30, 40, 50 years like this. 50 years, I'd be 80. I don't want to live like this. And I had to make that decision. And I did. I have an affirmation. And I don't say it as much as I used to now because I have different affirmations and stuff. My affirmation that I made up was, I've already lived my worst day. Every day after is going to be better than that day was. I use that a lot. I use it a lot. I truly believe after everything that I've studied, it's mind over matter. I just had to keep telling myself that in those first 6 months, 8 months, year and a half. It's not something that I was, I'm going to change and boom, thing was perfect. I healed.
Well, June, thank you again for that. Thank you for your honesty and your willingness to come on and talk about grief. And I think it's one of those silent killers that people don't want to talk about. Appreciate your willingness to do that. Well, June, help us with this. Where can somebody go to get copies? Now, I know there's one book. There's also another book. Where can they go and do that? And is there a social media of choice that you love to hang out on? And of course, lastly, if somebody wants to connect with you, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah. So my books, Amazon is probably the easiest because everybody shops on Amazon. Amazon's the easiest. You could put my name in there. I have one of those weird last names that's, really long, definitely on Amazon, or you can put my name in the search engine of Google and my books will pop up. Most of my social media will pop up. I have TikTok. I'm not usually on TikTok. I post on TikTok, but I'm not usually on TikTok. Instagram, I'm on Instagram a lot. Facebook, I have a Facebook business page. Author June Kraholic. My Facebook page is The Serenity Dreamer. I have a website you can find if you just punch in my name. But mostly I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. Facebook, I have a group for women, just women that have lost children. I think there's 1,700 women in the group now. We talk about grief and we post stuff and we talk about our children. It's on Facebook. The group is at Women Surviving Child Loss. It's a private group, so you can only get in. You answer the questions and that you've lost a child.
And you're a woman. I can't join
women.
I can't join the group. Is what
it's
you're
girl
saying.
Power stuff.
It's girl power stuff.
Yeah.
So no Costco membership card would ever be asked to be shown to get into the group. No, I'm a boy. I'm out.
When I was doing it, I was like, I probably could help guys with grief. I know from a mom's perspective, and I know what I'm telling these women are what they're probably feeling. Like, I can understand men and their grief process. I'm not in those shoes. I'll put it like that. I am not in those shoes. I am in a woman's shoes. Flats, but in a woman's shoes.
That's fair. I think it's great to have ladies out there, because as much as guys get a bad rap about wanting to talk about their feelings, and most guys don't, I'm going to push back on that. I think there's a lot of ladies out there that are those type A, have to be in control, have to know everything, have to have all the plans, got to know everything that's happening. They're probably not real apt to, I don't know, just share over a cup of coffee, spill their life story, because some of them may not drink coffee, and so they would never share.
Yeah.
I might be married to one. Just, a little Easter egg to see if she's listening. So there you go.
Isn't it weird to you that I told you I'm an introvert and I didn't believe in group therapy and therapists and group counseling and all this stuff? And here I start a Facebook group with 1,700 women. We're talking about feelings. It's different for me. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, June, again, thank you so much for coming on today. We really appreciate all that you gave, all that you shared. Hopefully you have honored not only your work and your life, we've honored Kaleb. To me, when I think of the name Kaleb, Kaleb is the name of my nephew. Mm-hmm. And I always think of that name when I think of my nephew. It's, again, a great reminder that the names sometimes, again, going full circle, even your name, they can mean meaning, and they can bring meaning to us, and they can remind us of things. And I think that's one of the best things ever, is the ability to remember what's happened, and to remember and have that mark that is on us that we can say, man, we can go back and look and go, man, look where I was. Now look where I am. And so, again, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys and gals, kids and campers alike, that is it. That is all. That is our show today. Whew. Grief, man. I'll tell you what, if I could meet grief in a dark alley, I'd show what's up. It is still one of the most perplexing things to me that I have ever encountered. I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't like it when people walk through it. I'm glad in so many levels that God did not wire me to be a grief counselor. I don't think I could do it. That is one pair of shoes I struggle walking in. I feel like a little kid with my dad's shoes on, just flop around in them. Like, it's not for me. It doesn't fit. I'm wondering about this for you, is that if you're in those shoes of maybe feeling like you don't fit and your grief is so at times overwhelming, what do you do with it? Who do you give it to? Who is breathing life into you, knowing full well that grief could choke you and potentially take you out? Think about that today. What do you do with your grief? Let me know. OPSpodcast.com is a great place to let me know. You can let me know on the socials at OPS Podcast Show under Facebook, Instagram, and X. Also, let us know on our website. It's pretty cool there, too. Before we go, just remember this. Don't forget, it's super important. It's very, very important, they would say. Remember, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. I want to thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned until next week. Guess what? We're going to walk in other people's shoes.